Hello YouTube, it's your boy Nathan coming to you to do another recap video. Today we are talking 90 Day Fiancé Happily Ever After Season 9 Episode 11. Nobody puts baby in a corner. So we just gonna get on into it. I can say this episode, I would have to say this episode was actually the saddest episode of the season so far. Like, it was sad with every single couple that was featured today. Let's start with the sad couple that I always say that's sad, and that's Kara and Guillermo. So, I mean, not much with them. I mean, they had their little weekend getaway and everything. They had that hard conversation last week when Kara said that Guillermo is not her person and everything, and she's upset that he don't trust her and everything. And, this episode, they just, packed everything up and they said they did sleep next to each other the last night and everything, but, they didn't say nothing, and they just packed up. They're still trying to figure out where they can go from here, and, they just left their little weekend getaway just in silence. I mean, it was just sad. I mean, that was literally it for them. Like, there was just not much to dig deep into. Like, they're just like, Kara's still feeling shocked that he is accusing her of cheating and stuff and everything, and Guillermo's now mad because like she wants to say that he's cheating and stuff, and it's just they're just completely on two different pages in their lives right now and what they want, but they gotta really just think about their son at least. So it's unfortunate with Kara and Guillermo. They just really don't know what they want. Well, they know what they're on, but they just cannot get on the same page. So that's unfortunate. So moving on. Next couple I want to talk is Brandon and Julia. So Brandon and Julia are in Miami with Brandon's parents and Julia's parents. They're in Miami because they want to do a second wedding. It's the day of the second wedding. They're gonna have a beach wedding. They're praying that the rain holds up and everything. We've seen Julia get ready. Brandon's mom Betty comes in and gives her some champagne and everything. And we've seen Brandon and Julia's dad, I think his name is Igor, like try to do the beach, try to set up stuff with the beach stuff, and it was funny because they were having issues doing that, and then the people on the beach were laughing at them and staring at them the whole time where they're trying to put some stuff together. And there was even a lady that came up to say, "Do you guys need any help or anything?" And then Julia's dad was like, "What?" he didn't understand what she was saying and stuff. But ultimately, they were able to get what they needed to get set up and everything, and everybody was looking at them and laughing at them. But they got it done. So they come on the beach and they do a little ceremony. Brandon says some stuff in Russian. I think they were their own officiant, basically. They were just like, Brandon said that, like, "Do y'all let me take your daughter to be continue to be your husband," or something like that. It was all in Russian and stuff and everything. And then, they said "I do" and kiss. It was beautiful. It was sweet. It was sweet, but that old sweetness just went all down the hill. So they all decided to go out to dinner. And when they went out to dinner, they decided, Julia's mom was trying like lobster and seafood, and she was like, she asked Betty, like, "Can you help me like clean this up or whatever?" Betty was just like, "Just use your hands." And Julia's mom was just like, "No, I'm not comfortable with that," because in different countries, and I know this for a fact because I had a stepfather who was Australian, and they're really adequate about table manners. Using a knife or fork in a proper way is like really key. It's like really big in other countries, and other countries that really don't like using. Not all of them, but there's a good bit of conservative countries that really don't like people like using their hands for their food and stuff. But Julia's mom said that the seafood was pretty good and stuff. And then Brandon and Julia decided to bring up about basically their paternity results. And Julia has polyps, and they said that she has to have surgery and stuff. Now, when we first were mentioned about this, Julia was so scared to hear that because she's never had a surgery before. She's never been under anesthesia or anything. And now all of a sudden she's saying that she doesn't want to have kids, period, because of this. Now, she was telling the parents this, and Brandon, of course, is getting upset because he wants kids. Now we all know what's happening now. She's pregnant, and this is just all some BS right now. But here in the moment, like Ron, Brandon's dad, was actually defending Julia. He was just like, because Betty has said, well, like Julia said that the doctor said for them to wait for a decision or whatever. Brandon said they didn't say that, but the doctors did say just talk to them yourselves, don't make a decision now, basically, and everything. And you're still young and stuff. Well, Julia's 30, Brandon's 32, and everything. Betty had said you're not that young at this point anymore when it comes to that. And your time is ticking when it comes to like will you be able to conceive and stuff. And Ron just said, Betty, stop, just stop right now and everything. Ron said, like, Julia, like, this is your decision and everything. Like, and it's your body, you make the decision that you want to make with your body. And she was like, yes, thank you. I wish everybody understood that. And then Brandon hears that, and then he gets up and walks away and starts having his little tantrum like he always does and everything. How do y'all makes me feel? We have to decide this as a couple and everything. And Betty tried so hard to stay out of it. She was like, I'm biting my tongue. And meanwhile, Julia's mom, she was upset about this too. Like, 'cause she wants grandkids, but she said the same thing, that it's their decision and everything, but we would like to have grandkids as well. And Julia comes back and saying, it's my decision. I don't want to have kids. Maybe we'll think about it. As of right now, I don't want to have kids. Well, they're having kids, but still. And I just wish everyone would quit pressuring me. Julia, nobody's pressuring you, but you're putting pressure on yourself. I feel like, she keeps saying I want people to quit pressuring her. She's putting pressure on herself with her family, with like worrying about what Betty is doing, like how Betty's doing things with them. Yes, some things are stressful, but I think she's putting it all on herself and she's not seeing that and everything. And Brandon just needs to quit acting like a baby and needs to man up and just be like, okay, you know what? Okay, let's just take a deep breath and we can talk about this another time and everything. Julie had mentioned that maybe we need to go to a different country for a vacation, just change of scenery and see like if we can change our mindsets or whatever. And I think they actually did do that, because I always see pictures on their social media. I know they were in Tokyo and everything. They went to Hawaii. They went on like a big vacation recently. So I think that's what prepared for that one. So yeah, I think that Brandon and Julia just, like I said, as we know what happened now is that they are pregnant. So Julia is pregnant. So all of this right now is some BS. This is why having these extended seasons are a pain, because we know what's happening in modern day. Like, TLC thinks we're stupid because they have the mindset that nobody has social media, basically. So I think like the TV network just feels like nobody has social media and doesn't follow these people. Like, and they should know by now. Like, so this is why these extended seasons are just unnecessary, in my opinion. But yeah, whatever. That was Brandon and Julia. Next couple I want to talk is Gina and Jasmine. So, speaking of babies, so look at this and listen to this. Now, last week, Matt and Jasmine, Matt told Jasmine that he's moving to Florida, basically. And Jasmine gave him attitude about that and whatever. And she wanted to stay in just a hopes that maybe her and Gina could possibly maybe consider working things out and everything, still living on kind of hope, which was ridiculous. This episode, though, we see Gino driving over to Matt's house. He said that Jasmine has sent him emails saying that you have to come over here urgently. You're coming to Matt's house. Matt's not going to be here. It's just going to be you and I. And there's something urgent I need to talk to you about. So Gino goes by. He's just thinking, well, maybe like, oh, I've been so lonely without Natalie. Maybe Jasmine. I think he had a little bit of hope because he's lonely. He walks into Matt's house. He knocks on the door and he just walks right in. When Jasmine opens up the door, he just walked right in, and she's like, "Oh yeah, sure, come on in." Not even a hi, how you doing? Good to see you. Just come on in. That's a little rude. Come on, Gina. I know you're frustrated, but don't be rude. So he come in, and then they started talking about what happened at that birthday party. You know, Gina said that you called out Jasmine, like you shouldn't have attacked Natalie like that and everything. And Jasmine did say, I'll take accountability, but at the same time, you are a liar, Gino, and everything. You weren't honest with her about the conversations that we had and the hope that we could possibly get back together. So, yes, I take responsibility what I said and done, but you lied to me and you lied to Natalie. So I feel more bad for her, actually, now than anything. So they argued a little bit of back and forth with that and everything, and it just got nowhere. Then Jasmine breaks the big news. Okay, first she's like, first when Gino walked into Matt's house, he said, there's a lot of boxes, so maybe Jasmine is liking me now and she's going to get her own place, right? Like, Gina, she's not going to get her own place. She doesn't feel better for you. She's not going to want you back if she gets her own place. I don't know why his little theory behind that makes sense and everything. But, somebody brought up a good point. They said that if Jasmine was so close to Dana and Michelle and everything, why didn't she go live with them instead of Matt, basically? If she wanted to really save her marriage and stuff and everything, why didn't she just go live with them? That's the point I'm trying to wonder, and that was a good point. She should have just lived with Dana and Michelle since they're all close, and they like basically sold out their own cousin, basically. So that's my opinion. But no. So Jasmine tells Gino that her and Matt are moving to Florida, and Gino's like, okay, cool, whatever. And then we broke the news that we kind of already knew. And this kind of, obviously we knew this because of The Last Resort. Even when Pillow Talk comes out, they already knew because of The Last Resort. Jasmine revealed to Gina that she's pregnant. So my thing is that Gina actually knew before the tell-all. He didn't find out when she walked in. He knew. This just proves that Gina knew before the tell-all. And I was just under the impression at The Last Resort tell-all that Gina did not know until like she had walked in and stuff and everything. And when they asked Gina, have you did anything in the open marriage? And at this point, he said no. And everything. So Gina is a liar too. He is a liar. But yeah, Jasmine reveals that she is pregnant. And Gino was just like, I'm not surprised. And so they decided, so Gino was like, do you have anything else to tell me? She's like, yeah, me and Matt are just going to get a house together down in Florida. He's like, okay, I don't need to know any more about your personal life. All right, I'm going to go. And so he leaves. He just starts bawling. Jasmine, of course, does her little crocodile tears and everything. I'm worried about him. And Gina's just crying. She's like, she didn't love me. She didn't love me. It was sad. I actually felt bad. I felt bad for once for them. That was sad. It was really, really sad. But yeah, that was Gina and Jasmine. And the last couples I want to talk is the triple threat couple, Jovi and Yara, Lauren and Lexi, and Elizabeth and Andre. Let's start with Jovi and Yara. So Jovi and Yara are out with Mother Gwen, Jovi's mom. And they have the dog with them. And the dog, they're at a restaurant, outside restaurant or whatever, and the dog got away basically, and somebody had to come and say, "Hey sir, is this your dog?" and everything. And he's like, "Oh my god, yes, Jovi, I put the dog down," and it just ran off by itself and everything. And Yara didn't see that because she had to take her daughter Mila to the bathroom and stuff. So they come back and have a conversation. They talked about what happened at the launch party and everything. And Yara said she feels bad for spilling that tea, but she was just like, it was just too much. And she said, people need to quit telling me things because I'm not good at keeping secrets and everything. So, and I was just like, I appreciate the honesty with that, but dang. So Mother Gwen said that, Mother Gwen is actually not a fan of them living in Miami. She actually wants them to move back to Louisiana. And Jovi, he's actually not a fan of Miami either. He said he moved here for Yara and everything. He said he's not miserable, but he just said just doesn't work. This is not where he feels like he belongs, basically. In Yara's defense, she said, there's more Ukrainian culture here. Like, she took her daughter to a Ukrainian church. There's more Ukrainians down here. So this actually feels a little bit more Yara's type. So, now instead of her, now Yara is not right now doing that, saying how miserable she is and wants to move back to Ukraine. Now she got a piece of it here in the United States, and she does seem happier. But like I said, I know it's coming. And like I said, I keep mocking it. And I apologize that I do. But like whenever her and Jovi get into a fight, she's going to start crying like she always does and say, "I hate you, Jovi. I'm taking me and Mara back to Ukraine. I've been miserable in this country for 5 years." And everything. That's coming. I'm telling y'all that's coming. Like I said, I'm sorry that I keep mocking it, but she did that so much in her early seasons and everything. But so Mother Gwen and them were talking about like looking at houses and stuff and everything, and it's just it got nowhere. It got nowhere. And Yara told Joey, "Just go with your mom. I don't want to deal with this right now." And everything. And Mother Gwen was just like, if these are your friends, they talked about what happened at the launch party with Lauren, Alexi, and Elizabeth and Andre. And Mother Gwen made a good point. I'm like, okay, why are these people y'all's friends? They're throwing out the F-bombs at a launch party and everything. I thought someone was going to get into a fight and everything. And, Jovi feels like they don't have much of a support system down there. And Yara said, yeah, we do. We do have Lauren, Alexi, and Elizabeth, and Andre. I think we all can be friends. We just can all come together and work it all out. Really, are? Really? Really? So, yeah. So now let's talk about the other two couples, Elizabeth and Andre, Lauren and Alexi. So Elizabeth and Andre start out on the beach, and Andre, is trying to make up for what he did and everything, to apologize to Elizabeth and stuff and everything. And Elizabeth said that, I told him basically, and they even went up to a cafe, deciding if they're going to meet with, if Elizabeth is going to meet with Lauren to talk about things. And Elizabeth said Andre to, like, I'm always going to defend you, but I am going to call, but when we're alone, I'm going to call you out on what you did wrong and stuff and everything. And I appreciate that she wants to defend her husband. That's what you're supposed to do and everything. But, she needs to realize that her husband does not have any manners. Andre has no manners. He always goes into people's houses and starts cursing and, possibly get into a fight with somebody and everything. He does not know how to respect other people's, like peace, basically, and everything. And, like, they keep saying it's it's an Eastern European thing, all they want, but it's, being Eastern European or not, it doesn't give you the right to be disrespectful everywhere you go and stuff. He's not somebody you could take anywhere. I would never bring Andre to a family gathering of mine. Not even the church. Like, I'm sure, and I do think they do go to church and stuff and everything, but I couldn't bring him to church. I couldn't bring him around my family. I couldn't bring him around, like, there's a lot of people I just wouldn't be able to bring Andre around and everything. So it's like she needs to realize that, and he needs to really check himself, because for a man being in his late 30s and acting like that's like you're gonna you're gonna be in the wrong place. You can get away with it in Moldova and where you're at in Florida right now, but you get other places doing that. No way. So now we head over to Lauren and Alexi, and they talk about Elizabeth and Andre and reminisce about like how Lauren and Elizabeth would talk for hours. I think, yeah, Elizabeth told Andre her and Lauren would talk for hours and everything, and they confided in each other and stuff. Lauren told Alexi asked Lauren, what did you tell Elizabeth when it came to the body shaming comment or whatever? And she said, like, during the time of the mommy makeover, I felt like you weren't like fully like there. Like some of the things that you were telling me, I took it as body shaming, basically, and everything. And I have body dysmorphia and everything, and that that plays a factor in it. I don't think you actually really were, but at the time I was doing that. And Alexi said that what did we decide to do like before the surgery? We said that you said you were just going to be trying harder and everything and whatnot. So Lauren and Alexi, they actually like they didn't get into a big fight over that and everything, but I mean, Alexi was annoyed that that was shared and stuff and everything, but now Lauren and Elizabeth have to meet to discuss to discuss everything. So Lauren and Elizabeth meet, and Lauren's like, me and Elizabeth are gonna meet. We're gonna meet at a public place, so there's witnesses. Lauren said she brought something for protection. Damn, Elizabeth ain't gonna be. I don't think Elizabeth was that psycho, but So Lauren and Elizabeth met, and this was funny. When they met, it was some tell-all jabs. Elizabeth asked Lauren, do you want to hug? Should we hug? And Lauren's like, no. And Elizabeth was like, oh, you don't even want a half-ass hug? Remember when Lauren did that at last year's tell-all with Thais and Sophie. She gave Thais and Sophie a hug, and they both gave her a half-ass hugs, and she was like, oh, I got 2 half-ass hugs basically and everything. So Elizabeth was like, you don't want a half-ass hug? And she's like, no. Okay. So they get to talking about everything and everything. Elizabeth doesn't like the fact that Lauren said that her husband is a terrible person and the D word. And Lauren keeps saying, I never called him a terrible person. And I called him, he is the D word, but not that. Well, Elizabeth was like, well, I think that's worse. She's like, I don't think that's worse and everything. And then, she talked about like, look, Elizabeth said, look, we were at your housewarming party and your friend attacked my husband and everything, and you didn't do nothing. If this was the other way around, I would have been like, tell my friend, been like, bye and everything. And Lauren was like, yeah, well, I did talk to my friend. I did apologize for that. And if this was the other way around, what did you would have done? Like, and they were like, I would have left. I would have left. Okay, fair enough. But still, she was just caught in the middle of that. Now, Lauren's upset. She was like, listen, Elizabeth, I had confided in you on a lot of things, like basically girl code. We talked for hours and everything. Why would you like expose that? Like, that we're private people. And I'll talk about the privateness in a minute, but that we're private people, and you would expose that to everything, and you haven't even said you're sorry either. And Elizabeth was like, well, my husband would never talk about my body like that or this, and that, and everything. And we're like, it's not about that. Like, even out of vengeance, you just don't do that to your friend and everything. So ultimately, they did apologize. They were like, until we meet again, like, Elizabeth said to Lauren that I do love him. I do still love you. I do care for you, but things are going to take time if we're going to get back to the way it used to be between us, basically. So I'm glad it didn't. It got a little tense at times, but I'm glad it didn't end up with somebody storming out, basically. Now, here's my thing on that little argument. Both of them said that they're private people and airing out dirty laundry and stuff and everything. Do they not realize that you're on a national television show that millions of people are watching every Sunday night? Why would they say they are private people and don't want dirty laundry aired when your dirty laundry is aired every freaking Sunday night? Asking for a friend. Lord have mercy. So yeah. Anyway, guys, that was the end of the episode. We did not see Darcy and Georgie or Tiger, Lily, and Adnan. Thank God. I actually enjoyed this episode, even though, like I said in the beginning, that this was a sad episode. It was such a relief not having either Darcy and Georgie in this episode or Tiger, Lily, and Adnan. Those we can. I'm actually, normally, like I said, I cringed on the Happily Ever After season because ain't nobody happy. Everybody's breaking up and divorcing on Happily Ever After, but I'm not as like, it's making me cringe like the last couple seasons were, like especially like last year and the year before, basically. So yeah, but yeah, it was a nice episode without Darcy and Georgia. I know they'll be back next week, but what's going on with Tiger, Lily, and Adnan? I have not seen them. Like I don't, I do know like last year with Nicole and Mahu, like their season was cut short. Maybe Tiger, Lily, and Adnan season's done. Maybe we might see one or two more episodes before the tell-all. I don't know. A little conspiracy there too. But we'll see. But anyway, guys, that is the end of my review. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please like and subscribe to my channel. I'll be back on tomorrow and Tuesday to recap 90 Day Fiancé the other way. So until then, y'all stay safe and have a good one. Bye, y'all.